In 1945, when the U.S. Army found von Braun and his group and the rockets in the underground factory, at the time, President Roosevelt and then Truman had okayed a project to bring German scientists to the U.S. outside our system, because keep in mind, these people most were members, at least members of the Nazi Party. And being a member of a fascist organization, you couldn't get into the United States at the time. So Paperclip brought them over here outside of the system, so to speak. They had no visas. The von Braun group went first to Fort Bliss, Texas, to build rockets for the U.S. Army. So they went from building rockets for Hitler to building rockets for us. There was supposed to be the policy of Paperclip. There's a clause that they were supposed to exclude members of the SS, ardent Nazis supposedly, and war criminals. The men in the Joint Chiefs of Staff that ran the project played a little fudging with the records and, in essence, changed the background checks so that doctored, whitewashed dossiers went to the State Department. So, in other words, von Braun and the rest of them got their U.S. citizenship based on doctored records.
Nazis used concentration camp labor to build the V2, and thousands of prisoners died in the process. Nightmarish as it was, the V2 represented some seriously advanced technology, and when Germany fell in 1945, the United States went to great lengths to recover it.
The deadly V2 rocket bomb is assembled by U.S. engineers at White Sands Proving Ground near Las Cruces, New Mexico.
In the years following the war, the U.S. military's Project Paperclip brought more than 100 German scientists and engineers to America, most notably V2 project architect Wernher von Braun. They also imported literal trainloads of rocket components. Overall, the project was an American effort to develop Nazi tech on American soil for American gain. And that is what a young Sandy Hess describes in all those letters. Reading them gave Melinda a very personal look at a secretive and pivotal project. Here's one passage read by Melinda.
I will be the only American engineer in the test section. I will work with the Germans on the tests and write reports, etc. They call themselves prisoners of peace and are treated very well. I will work under a Dr. Schilling and with about 15 others.
And there's one other detail that makes this all the crazier still. Melinda is Jewish. Her father, Private Sandy Hess, was Jewish, and his letters reveal more than a little discomfort about working with Germans.
The major asked me if I had any animosity towards them, and I truthfully answered yes. He explained that he feels the same way, but I must realize that they are working for the U.S. government, and I must treat them like co-workers.
And that's exactly what he did. In the letters, Sandy describes befriending and working well with his German colleagues, though at the time none of them could know how historic their work would become. Under American direction, the V2 program evolved, splintered, and eventually led to the Saturn family of rockets, the very same rockets that sent Apollo astronauts to the moon. Meaning that lots of Project Paperclip scientists, including Wernher von Braun, ultimately ended up working for NASA. In short, our space program owes a lot to a careful collaboration between ex-Nazis and American Jews.
Wernher von Braun is well known for two primary reasons: his groundbreaking work on rocketry that landed man on the moon, and his work as a registered Nazi at a concentration camp under Adolf Hitler. But he's also known for a third reason: his work with Walt Disney himself. But how did a former Nazi rocket scientist end up working with Walt Disney, and what did they work on? Wernher von Braun was born in Germany in 1912. He was a poor high school student, particularly in math and physics. That all changed, though, when he read a copy of By Rocket into Planetary Space. This novel was written by early rocketry pioneer Hermann Oberth and ignited von Braun's love of rocketry. Following Germany's defeat in World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was established. Among other things, this treaty was written to prevent Germany from developing weapons of war, but it did not include rocketry. Germany's work on rockets was extremely dependent on research done by the young von Braun, whose thesis on liquid propellants was kept classified all the way until 1960. Von Braun was immediately put to work on Germany's rocket program with the aim of creating a rocket that could be used as a weapon. This work yielded the German V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. The V-2 was constructed at the Nordhausen-Dora concentration camp in central Germany. This work was done by slave laborers and was directly overseen by von Braun. Although there is no doubt that von Braun was a Nazi and he contributed perhaps more than any other to their advanced weapons programs, there is some controversy over whether or not von Braun believed in Nazi ideology. He claims that he was forced into developing the V-2 even while disagreeing with its purpose. While we'll likely never know the truth about these claims, there is one bit of certainty. Throughout all of his work for the Nazi Party, von Braun was working towards one singular goal: human space travel.
I mean, we had to. Walt Disney said it's going to happen. Werner von Braun has corroborated it with him.
Now here's a model, my design for a four-stage orbital rocket ship.
The alleged father of the American space program, Werner von Braun. And the larger-than-life Werner von Braun was invented, I think, primarily by Disney.
In 1937, Werner von Braun joined the Nazi Party. He developed for Adolf Hitler the V-2 rocket that was used to bomb Great Britain.
After the war, he's captured, along with many other German scientists, and Americans feel like they've hit a big payload here. They've got these very talented German scientists who are already building rockets. The United States wants to build rockets for the Cold War, and von Braun takes that opportunity as well.
All of those other things were swept under the carpet very carefully by the American government. Information was classified, archives were censored in order to hide those darksome facts from his past.
Disney and von Braun's promotion of space extended into the design of Walt's new theme park.
If one were to think of Disneyland as a whole, you could see it as a type of advertisement for the aerospace industry. The same engineers who were designing aircraft are the same ones who design roller coasters. Disneyland, in that way, could be seen as marketing material for the Cold War, for high defense spending.
Not a bad place to be if you want to send a message. You want to catch the attention of the country. Disney is someone that can do that. And Los Angeles as a media market is not a bad place to be promoting that message. If you want to send the message that space is the future, this is a good place to be doing that.
For the boys of today, the spacesuit has replaced the cowboy outfit of an earlier year. And the dream of a rocket trip to some distant planet has outdated the old-fashioned desire to fly a plane around the world.
Our country will thrive and prosper again. We stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the Earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies, industries, and technologies of tomorrow. A new national pride will stir our souls, lift our sights, and heal our divisions. It's time to remember that old wisdom our soldiers will never forget, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
In early '74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine.
Over when we came into office, and something that Mike liked very much and I liked very much, and you're both doing a fantastic job, and everybody's doing a fantastic job. It's been totally reinvigorated, I think, to a level that it's never been at. And we're also thinking in terms of defense. We have the Space Force happening. That's going along very nicely, as you know. We're creating a new force, and it's called the Space Force, and that's a big thing. And that'll be working along very closely with you. So that's beyond going to the moon and Mars. That's also defense of our nation.
That's right.
Which is very important.
Anywhere there's commerce, it needs to be defended. And we are industrializing space. It's going to be an export for the United States, and that's going to be very positive. In fact, it already is. We need to grow it. And so we're working very hard to commercialize it, make it an export. And of course, that requires it to be defended just like the high seas for trade.
Wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
This incredibly divided world of ours. They're out there. We better think of how all the differences among people on Earth would seem small if we felt threatened by a space invader.
I can't reveal anything. I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.